I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the roll call reflect that Councilman Zant is absent tonight. Everybody else is present. We do have a quorum. Oh, good. That was my fault. I forgot. I apologize. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I would like to amend the agenda, adding the appointment of the town clerk and treasurer.
It's been moved and second that we amend the agenda to add appointment of the town clerk treasurer. We put that on unfinished business. Please, since unfinished business, B. So it's been moved and second that we approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, only affirmative. Any communications from citizens? None being. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda, approval of the minutes, October 11th, 2022. Approval of the bills, October 12th, 2022 through October 25th, 2022.
A motion.
Been moved by Councilman Weaver that we approve the consent agenda. Have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilwoman Hartke. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, only affirmative. Resolutions, revenue 22-007.
Just wrote it off the paper here. Resolution number 22-007, a resolution authorizing the increasing of FY 2023 budget revenues for the town of Shoshoni. Whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshoni passed a budget resolution for fiscal year 2023. It's an error. I'll take that. It should be 23, not 22. Including expected revenues and expenditures. Whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshoni recognizes interest revenues were unknown due to federal interest rates reduced to near zero during the COVID-19 pandemic response. And whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshoni recognizes revenues from invested assets are directly linked to the federal interest rate. And whereas the revenues received as a result of increased interest rates to date and continued rate increase have resulted in revenues which exceeded those budgeted. And whereas the allocation for general fund expenditures are based upon expected revenues and now Therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the town of Shoshone authorizes the town treasurer to increase the budgeted revenue of the following line item in the amount specified commensurate with revenues expected to be received in excess of initial budget. 1031-160, interest earnings, 12,800. That's at the end of the meeting here, but we've already almost hit our revenue from interest rate or interest income and in October for what we budgeted for the whole year because of the rate increases, which is what this is about.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Councilman Weaver to approve the resolution
I'll second it.
and second by Councilwoman Hartke to approve the resolution 22-007 revenue. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Resolution 22-008 ambulance.
A resolution authorizing the creation of a budgetary department of the town, of the Shoshone Ambulance Service. Whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshone created the Shoshone Ambulance Service on May 5th, 2021. And whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshone passed a budget resolution for FY 2023, including expected revenues and expenditures prior to the Shoshone Ambulance Service becoming operational. And whereas the governing body for the town of Shoshone recognizes the need to include revenues and expenditures as a result of the addition of Shoshone Ambulance Service as a separate revenue and expenditure budgetary item. And now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the town of Shoshone provides authority for the town treasurer to create an initial revenue and expenditure department within the FY 2023 budget with the following line items and amounts specified. Revenue, insurance, 1,000, service, 1,000, standby, 1,000, transfer, 1,000, expenditures, training, 2,000, medical supplies, 1,500, salaries and wages, 500.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Demick to approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
Been seconded by Councilwoman Hartke to approve resolution 22-008 ambulance as read. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. All in the affirmative. Thank you, Chris. We have a presentation by Scott Chapman. Would you please come forward, Scott, and introduce yourself.
Town Council, Mayor, thank you for your
Please.
time. So the reason I'm here today is to talk about the house that I recently purchased and Confidence Builders who built it. I just want to give you a brief history, just so you know, kind of my mindset and how we got to this point. Sold my house in a Camet, grew up in Moreland, familiar with the area. Decided to relocate here. I was living in my camper. It was just me, so it didn't really matter how long it was. I wasn't in a hurry. The camper's big enough. It suited me fine. My wife and children were in Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville is the proper way to say it. And while she was going to college, my wife was staying there, and we actually got along better separated than we did together. But the intent was, after our daughter graduated from college, to come back to Wyoming. So I was looking for a property with 2 houses. Well, unfortunately, she passed away. So my life changes like in 24 hours. So I go back to Kentucky. I've got my 35-year-old son with Down syndrome. Luckily, my daughter was able to graduate from college. I was staying at Crossroads RV. Mike was great. I still appreciate it to this day. He let me stay there for free, said, don't worry, we'll, try to accommodate you, work with you. I mean, it was great. Well, he had the house that he was building that I ultimately bought, and then their flipping a house, I believe, that they're working on right now. Well, I think they were looking at the house that they're going to flip, but then it changed to the new home. What was perfect? It was a perfect size, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I mean, 1,430, 60 square feet, something like that. I mean, and I walked in and all they had done on the inside was it was framed. So I got to pick the tile. I got to pick, I mean, it was exciting. I've never bought a new home. I was excited. And I committed to the home, because it went from a spec home to a custom home. I told Mike, I am committed to buying this house. So we wait 5 months. My son and I living in this camper, 5 months. Finally, it's actually livable on the inside. We're within a week or so of closing. I had an inspection scheduled right before closing. I asked Mike if I could stay in the house because I was sick of the camper. And I bought, literally all the furniture, everything I bought was for this house. And if you want to look at it, I'll give anybody a tour. It's just been a nightmare. The plumbing had to be completely replaced. It cost me almost $5,000. We had to evacuate the house because there was a gas leak. The water heat, and unfortunately the inspection didn't catch it. When we got to stay in the house, my son's a restless sleeper and he slept and has since we've been in the house like a champ. He doesn't see it. He doesn't get it. The guy's home. I'm not going to take him away from that. So the inspection unfortunately didn't uncover. It did uncover some code violations with the water heater, just not the full extent. So we have to evacuate the house. Son's got Down syndrome, just got him in the shower and he moves like a turtle. So I smell gas. I'm freaking out because I know this water heater's going on and off, on and off, on and off. Finally, he gets done. We evacuate the house. Gas company comes out. He goes down to the water heater and he knew right away the gas line was too small going into the water heater. That was the first problem. It was starving the water heater of gas. Then they did the exhaust right outside the front patio. So that's where the gas leak was outside the front patio. And that's when I smelled it when I went outside. And the gas company, as soon as his meter hit that, said, it's off. So I'm in a brand new house, no water heater. It's installed incorrectly. Luckily, I had them do full hookups for a camper. So for a month, we showered in my camper. I closed because the inspection didn't uncover. I was like, if it's safe to live in, I'm not going to pull them out of the home now. So I did close. That's unfortunately when we had to evacuate the gas or the house. I've got roof problems. I've got siding problems. The foundation's 18 inches below grade. So there's a drainage problem now. And it's not just my house. It could have potentially been somebody else's house because there's a foundation there. The gentleman that shot the laser, it's worse than my house. And he said, if you want an easy way to fix it, turn that foundation into the drainage because it's insane how much water, and it doesn't dry. It's still damp and muddy from the last rain that we had and the little bit of moisture. It's a disaster. And the bugs, the flies, the mosquitoes. Luckily, it was at the tail end of the summer when we got the most rain. So it hasn't been too bad. So they did. I was going to walk away. I'm kind of mixed up. I'm sorry. I went south. I was going to walk away. Mike said, we screwed up. What can we do to get you to buy the home? We screwed up. He admitted it. That's some things I was going to show to the council. That's kind of why I'm lost on my order of, but so here I am. I got this drainage problem. I can't get people out because nobody wants to work on somebody else's crap. And I'm just trying to piece people to come out and do a little bit. I'm not a rich man. I've already spent, there was no gutters. There's no storm doors. This was supposed to be a high-end house. No garbage disposal. My back patio is not finished. The front patio is done. But like I said, they've got to be torn out and replaced because they didn't put cement underneath them. It's just a disaster. So what I'm asking of the council today, and please come and look at the house. I will show you. And every time I've had somebody come and look at the house, they find something new. So it kind of helps me. But here's a perfect example. I get one thing fixed and it uncovers another issue. The plumbing got fixed and they cut a floor joist to accommodate the dryer exhaust. So now I got a floor joist that needs to be fixed. Luckily, it's close to the foundation, because if it was in the middle of the house, then I'd have a flooring problem. And I do have tile and flooring problems. And like I said, I'm trying to get everybody out. What I ask is they have a little certificate to conduct business in Shoshoni. I don't ask you to revoke it. I wish you would revoke it so this doesn't happen to anybody else. And I'm not the only one. But at least suspend it until they do restitution with those they've harmed, because I am looking at, it'll take me years to fix everything wrong with that house. And my concern is, and I would hope the town's concern is, luckily I didn't smoke. Who knows what would have happened? I mean, maybe it just would, who knows? But the risk is there because they don't care, in my opinion. And that's all I gotta say. And thank you for your time. And if anybody's got any questions, and like I said, anytime you want to come by and look at my house, if I'm there, I'll show you. All you got to do is drive by. You know, I go out of town, come back to a notice of trespass, go out of town, come back to a fence around my house, which is funny because I was going to do the same. I need a temporary fix. Well, they did exactly what I was going to do. So, and apparently I must be badass because there's caution tape on the fence,
Steve,
but
I
it blew down.
appreciate your concern. You, I think, came and said what you need to say, you know. We can look into our ordinances and see where we're at. This sounds, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't know what involvement the town.
Well, get
We
the
know what we can do.
ordinances.
I don't know what our ordinance allows or what we
This
we
is,
can
I
actually
mean,
do.
they're doing, you're chasing away the people. I mean, I'm from Wyoming. I chose this place for a reason, you know, and they wanted $330,000 for that house. And it appraised at 280 and they still wanted 330. That's why I was going to walk away. And so they lowered the price. It's public record. They lowered the price to 280, promised they wouldn't walk away, and they walked away. Now, I want to stay here, but that's not much of a welcoming to this town. And I feel left high and dry. I just do. So what you guys do is up to you. I hope you do the right thing because this will happen again. Thank you for your time.
I was gonna ask one question real quick.
Sure.
What aside from your house situation, what keeps you in Shoshoni?
I want to live here. I love to fish. I got a pedaling kayak. I mean, I ice fish. I hunt. I mean, I'm in. That's why I lived in encampment. And Colorado, unfortunately, chased me north. They're taking over southern Wyoming. They just are. And that's why I wanted a little town. You know, I grew up in Wyoming. I love everything there is to do out here. And that's why I picked Shoshoni. I was living the dream. I mean, I can't tell you. I'm retired from the military. I retired fairly young. This shouldn't have happened. I mean, really, it shouldn't have happened.
You did hire an inspector to inspect the property.
I did.
Before you bought.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. You know, you can criticize, why'd you buy it? Why'd you buy it? My son was at home and I don't care what you say. Everything I do is for that,
Of course.
kid. Well, he's not a kid,
Yeah, he is.
35.
Your kid.
a 35-year-old kid. So everything is for him. And that's what irritates me is How could you do that? Because what you do to me, you do to him. He may not see it. He feels the anger in me. And that's what pisses me off. Because I'm $280,000 worth of pissed off. And hopefully I can save somebody else from going through this. Because it's just not right. You don't do this to people. You just don't. And I stick to my word. I committed to it. And, so I took it in the shorts. I'm accepting that. And I'm doing what I have to recover. It takes a lot of time. It's hard to get anybody out here. It's hard. So here I sat, and I can only do so much at a time. I was hoping to get the roof and the siding fixed. I can't get anybody out.
I've tried all summer to get some of the roof of my house without any luck.
Yeah, but no, you have the.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean,
as I said,
that's where I'm at. And so I ask for your help. So please help me. Because I do. I want to stay here. I go to Thermop every week for a soak. I mean, I like it here. I'm not happy right now. Well, I am happy. But it is frustrating.
Well, just always turn a bad thing into a good thing.
Well,
You know,
luckily,
it makes
like
you
I
be
said,
good here in Shoshone.
My son
Well,
kind of keeps me level. So because
While you
I'm-
moved here, we're still here.
but I am angry and I have a right to be. And if they don't get it, then take a tour of my house and be thankful you didn't buy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
All
please.
right, so it was brought up about the code, if there's anything that can be done. So in section 713. 713 of your town code to 715 basically gives the town the ability to revoke any license for any violation of any ordinance of the code, of the town code. So I guess the big thing is for, my suggestion would be for you as a council to actually investigate, do your due diligence, and then decide if there was a
Violation
violation
of any,
of the permit or building code or anything like that. Then you have the ability then after that to decide whether or not to revoke the license for any period of time.
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so the town does have that power.
What branch did you serve?
Marine Corps, and I retired from there.
I just wanted to thank you for your service,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
and then I'll swing by and take a look too myself.
Yeah, seriously, if I'm there, I mean, like I said, it's a beautiful, crappy house. I mean, and I do, I like it. I mean, I want it fixed, and I want it done, but.
Yeah.
But it is, it's a nice home. Or it will. And thank you.
You bet. Hopper Metals Economic Development.
Can't wait.
Follow that. My name is Mike Dimick. I wanted to do a follow-up on the previous presentation that we had discussed about purchasing the property on Fifth Street,
Idaho and Fifth.
Idaho and Fifth Street. At the tail end of the meeting, based on what I had gathered and feedback was to help further demonstrate the need for workforce housing in Shoshone. And so what I've done is I've talked to multiple businesses in the community, and I provided a spreadsheet that was given to me from the Shoshone School Administration. Chris has that and can bring it up on the screen. It was the most informative and detailed of what we were striving to create. So what this graph shows, and discussing with, typically what comes out in a meeting is it's about school teachers. Well, the teachers need a place to live, where can the teachers go? And when I visited with the school, they said, well, fortunately, we have more than just teachers here. And so what they did was they compiled all of their staff from the janitor to the superintendent. And according to the numbers provided here, they employ 92 people. In their breakout on the graph, it shows where they are at. So it speaks for itself. 25% of our teachers, staff of Shoshone School live inside of Shoshone. 75% are out of Shoshone. 18% of those are out of the district. So in real numbers, so of the 92 on staff, that's roughly 22, 23 people live in the town of Shoshone that work at the school, which means the rest of them are commuting on a daily basis. This scenario is similar to most businesses that you talk with, whether that is looking at the town of Shoshone's person or the town of Shoshone staff in general. Roughly 50% of Shoshone town staff is in town. The other 50% is out of town. That staff being from the secretary to the police department, those that work with the staff. In visiting with the mushroom farm, Wyoming Mushroom, if I understood them correctly, they have roughly 35 employees. 25 of them are here in Shoshone. A bulk of their workforce was literally imported to Shoshone, meaning they have come up on work visas or they've moved from out of country, but they do live here in town in multiple locations to be able to work and do the duties that are needed at the mushroom farm. I visited with the owner of Fastlane, and in brief, that conversation was they don't have enough personnel as is, and with the onset of the new store that they're building, they anticipate striving to bring people out of Riverton as well to fill positions. My company, as a smaller example, we typically have between 7 to 9 people on staff. Right now, we're about 50% as well that live in town versus that commute from Riverton or surrounding areas to come work for us. So all this being said, the crux of the matter is the town needs housing. We all agree to that. And the town needs economic development. So our goal has been, how do you get one without the other? And which one do you do first? So this particular piece of property that we'd gone on, I think the initial hope of the last year was some form of business would show up. That's not happened. So my approach has been that the location seems feasible for housing, and that has been my premise to come to the town to, as my proposal to purchase, to create that workforce housing. In our initial presentation, we had discussed about putting in 2 stick-built homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, an attached garage, the third being a potential duplex. Since the weeks have passed by, we've found another opportunity that might prove more valuable for the community. I don't know if it's going to be available for long or if it still is. It's been some time, but it was an opportunity for us to purchase 6 modular duplexes. They are built in 2015. They are 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They're currently, or were currently, in Riverton in storage, meaning they have been separated. They are ready to move. And that might be an avenue that, if the town is okay with that, I don't think it would change anything, but we may pursue that because it would be a much faster build and it would generate housing much quicker than doing the stick built at this time. Regardless of that, I would like to strive to bring it to completion. If we're going to do it, great. If we're not going to do it, then we're not going to do it, so we can move on to something different. I feel like that's what I have to say in a nutshell, and be happy for any questions.
You gonna put those, if you go with the double wides duplexes, is that gonna be on a set foundation or on piers? Or?
It would be on a foundation. So anything that we would bring into this town would be for, whether it is for rent or, I'll take it back. I don't want to rent. It's not what I like to do. I want them to be created to where if somebody else wants to be a landlord, that's fine. If somebody else wants to buy it, that's fine too. But they need to be able to be financed from a bank. So that being said, we have visited with 2 different banks in Riverton to better understand what does it take to have anything financed, whether it is a brand new stick-built home, whether it is a 100-year-old home, whether it's a mobile home, modular home, whatever. So our goal is to strive to make it so it is affordable, meaning they can get a loan if that's what needs to be done. I don't think, were you at the meeting when I did this the first time?
No, I didn't hear this.
So for your knowledge, so what we'd anticipated doing were barn dominiums. Barn dominiums being they're a post frame style home, slab on grade with an attached garage.
Mhm.
The goal for those was to have them price point around 250,000. See where building materials and labor goes. And there's 6 lots over there. We're going to take and put 1 home on 2 lots. So whether it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, it would accommodate a family. The very tail end of the property where the existing building is, the way that it goes down Idaho Street, if we put the doors facing Idaho Street, it yields itself to accommodate a duplex if that's what we chose to do. The effort for the duplex was to have 4 homes on the property to maximize the value of what it could do for the community.
And those were what year?
So the ones, if we ended up bringing those in, these duplexes prior to that I've learned since what I just told you. So what I've been told on those is they are 2015 models.
They're modulars or
Yes.
Yeah.
So this per your code, modulars are not and by banking state statute, it's even in your code, modulars are not mobile homes.
correct,
So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So
correct. That's why I asked the question.
right, I know you are, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure because there's other people may
Right,
raise their hands, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, a modular home is a stick-built home.
correct.
That's what I would like to, I would hope that deal can go through just because of where it's located, and it is. I would do all 6 and we would put them wherever we could find to put them in this town. I mean, that it's at the end of the day, it is affordable, whether someone wants to rent it or someone wants to buy it, however it's structured, but it is affordable. And it solves some of the dilemmas that we have heard from the audience as far as getting people here to build.
Are you proposing to put those 6 on this? Those 6 on those lots that you're talking about now?
Putting that out there I felt it was better to share the information, even though it has not gone through. It's not gone through because I've not pursued it because I didn't know if we'd have a home form or not. But I did not want to change up the deal and come back and say, by the way, I found this is a better deal. So I think we would probably only put 3 of them over there. I still think people need a yard, and we would add a garage to them. The other 3 we would put throughout town.
Okay.
If they don't go through, we would continue with throughout town.
Okay.
If they don't go through, we would continue with our current plan, and that would be to do the stick-built homes that are over there. We have located another builder in Riverton that is willing to do the project. They're a certified, one of a kind, whatever you want to call it. They're well-established home builders that I've spoke with them about the project, shared exactly what I'm sharing with you, and they are on board to pursue it.
And if I understand correctly, you don't need the metal building, correct?
No.
Any more questions?
This doesn't really matter. Who's the builder, if you don't mind me asking?
Majors Equipment.
Done a lot of work with them.
So I visited with Blaine. He's the owner. The conversation came up as far as when I told them what we'd looked at doing. Our original, the very beginning was to do 3 identical homes. So you're using one plan, and then the exterior would be different color schemes. As of now, it was intended to be steel roof, steel siding, wainscoting, concrete driveways, those types of things. But the color variation is what would set them apart. It's in an effort of saying, what can we get in Wyoming for sure? And honestly, what it really started as, if we can buy it at Menards, then it was feasible because it helped us eliminate supply chain issues. So some things, it made it so you might not have the fanciest kitchen cabinets in there, but the fancier you go, the more expensive it gets. And our goal has not been to get over that $250,000 $280,000 price range. Based on what people generate for revenue in this town, it should be affordable.
Any more questions? Thank you.
So what would be our next step with Mike? I mean, what do we do decision wise? We just keep going down, or?
We're gonna have a real estate executive session, one
Okay.
coming up here at this meeting.
Okay. That works for me.
I know we could talk about it at
Yeah.
that time while we're,
The next step after that would be determining publicly whether you're gonna approve it or not, and whether you believe or not it's economic development requirements.
We'll have to advertise it as well as
Yeah.
same thing we did before. We would advertise the date for final, like we did with Dwayne, that project. We have the appraisal work, and so we'll have that information. So that would be the final step.
Yeah, they'll go through it just like down the street.
yep.
So that would be the time it would be finally approved, is at that meeting.
Okay.
Next on our agenda, the appointment of a town clerk and treasurer.
So I announced that I was leaving as the clerk treasurer a few months ago, and council did interviews and executive session. And the mayor made an offer to one of them with the request to not publicize it until they've had time to notify their current employer, which was notified and brought to the attention for this to be modified onto this agenda. The plan was for me to be done November 1st officially.
Can I have a motion to appoint Kim Riley as the new Shoshoni town clerk and town treasurer?
I give that motion.
Been moved by Councilwoman Harkey. Can I have a second?
Second.
And second by Councilman Dimick to appoint Kim Riley as our new clerk treasurer. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Passed on the affirmative.
Okay, I'm out of here.
That appointment becomes effective November 1st. New business. We got to discuss the councilman in residency.
We did the
What
building
about
permit on
the
unfinished.
building permit?
Oh, where? Oh, building permit, did I skipped. It went to Hopper Metal. Okay. Building permit, Hopper Metals. I think we decided the last, go ahead.
So in lieu of the information when we had this discussion about the zoning over there, I was unaware of what it was zoned when I presented this to the council. However, something that is interesting that I think needs to be considered, if Chris can pull up the county map that's on the couple pages down. That one right there. On the corner of Maple and 4th,
This is 6th right here.
so 5th Street, corner of Maple and 5th. That there. That is the same zoning as the proposed area that I would like to move into double wide. That lot was approved by the town council in 2019 to move in that double wide trailer. It is a 1978 double wide. It is not on a permanent foundation, but that was approved by the council in 2019. So I use that as a reference to, I guess, cordially ask why I would not be able to do the same thing, even though we have, our goal is to do this as a permanent foundation, so it does qualify for financing. I feel like that's,
I believe our town attorney had already answered that it does not fit our zoning regulation.
so I believe you were mayor at the time, Mr. Highsmith, and you approved that building permit as
The
well.
governing body approved it, probably made a mistake in doing it, but
So do they need to move their home?
pardon,
Do they need to move their home since they're not zoned to be there?
they're there already.
It's understandable.
But I believe their town attorney already answered that. We're not zoned, that's one, zone 1R, mobile homes are not allowed.
But yet it was allowed.
Not gonna repeat myself.
So I think part of the issue is it's challenging for I'm just a simple little, I don't even know if I call myself a builder yet, but as much as the town wants to harp on new housing and getting people here, and I feel like we've demonstrated by multiple projects that what we put there is appropriate and permanent and an asset to this town. And like I said, if it hadn't been done previous, it might be a different scenario, but you've already approved it.
There is a procedure that you can ask to have that property rezoned, and it was suggested to you that that's what you do.
But my concern is you made it okay for one and not for the other.
I did not make it okay.
Were you the mayor in
The
2019?
governing body voted on it.
So you're not responsible for it.
The governing body, I said, may have made a mistake or did make a mistake, but we have, as our group, discussed that issue openly in meetings, that we were not, just like the new subdivision, we're not allowing mobile homes. And this is no different. So there is a pathway for you to do
I
this
don't-
if you want to, and I would suggest that you go down that pathway.
Can I ask for the town attorney's opinion on this situation?
Right, I mean, we've already talked about it, it is non-conforming. Proper thing to do then is either ask for a variance, which the town council can vote on for a variance or to rezone it.
Is there anything regarding the one that was approved?
I'd have to go back and see if they had given a variance for that one. I don't know what the history on that is or not. And if not, then I'll have to take a look to see. I mean, they're not gonna have to remove because essentially, if the town voted in for it, it's essentially a variance.
So is there any? So like I said, I feel like if it was good for one and not the other, that seems, is it biased? I don't know I don't want to turn this into, to me, honestly, I look at it and I think the neighborhood, the road, everything around there has multiple manufactured homes already existing. It's not like we're looking at the North 40 saying, here we go, guys, here's our 1979 double wide right smack dab in the middle of it.
Right, I understand what you're saying. I'm just telling you the rules require.
Sure.
A variance. If the council voted on it and they approved it, it becomes a variance.
The homes on that block are higher end in the town of Shoshoni. The property owners, adjacent property owners might feel that it could decrease the valuation of their property.
Could.
I'm not gonna argue any of that. What I'm gonna tell you is the council can vote on it, put it in there. Put it in there as variance. Okay, but you're gonna need, according to for variance here, you're gonna need,
There's 7 trailer homes in the block.
I understand what you're saying. All right,
If you are not recognized, Jordan Whitener. If you want to be recognized, you can speak up here.
hold on.
Calm down, Joel.
Hey,
Calm down.
No,
hold on, let me get through this,
I'm trying to
please.
get orderly here.
Let me
No,
get
you're
through.
not. You're throwing your tantrum that you always do.
Joel and, or both of you, please. I just want to get through this so I can explain to Mike the process. That's all I'm getting at. So the proper thing to do is same thing, bring it up for a vote. Or to bring it forth to get a variance, okay, and then you're gonna need 4 council members to have the variance.
Only be 3.
Well, how can you have
So I'll be-
councilmen when he has to excuse himself? Sorry.
I'm so, all I'm doing is reading the.
Sure, what the-
ordinance. That's, I mean, that's just what you have in your ordinance on how to get in a variance to change anything.
So is there any,
If
so
I'm reading that correctly, but vote required, concurring of 4 members of the board shall be necessary to reverse any order requirement or decision or determination. Decide in favor of the applicant on any matter upon which is required to pass on this chapter any effect of any variation. So you, unfortunately, tonight, whether we like it or not, the council here can't make a decision. I'm not telling you that.
sure.
But the proper way to do it is going to be for the council to put in the variance for the zone or to change the zone. Now, if that happened before, I don't know. I can't tell you, but
So does that carry any legal ramifications on this? I mean, it's like, so like I said, part of me feels it's not like this was done 20 years ago. This was done
right.
a couple years ago, and
I'm not going to tell you whether or not how you can sue the town if you want to. That's not my job.
no, and
What I'm gonna
our
tell you-
goal is to bring housing to the community. I mean, that's
Right.
the goal. The ground's never been developed, and there's an opportunity. And here we are saying, I'm going to point to Mr. Mayor, I don't want a house in this town because it might devalue my property.
I suggested you go through a zoning variation and poll the adjacent landowners as prescribed by our ordinance.
And I have presented that you have approved this in the past and you're denying it now.
The governing,
There has not been any denial at this point.
Well, except denying me the opportunity to build.
Well,
no,
what I'm telling you is no one's voted on anything at this point.
So,
And technically, they can't.
and you've been given a pathway.
okay.
You've been given a pathway.
So for my own knowledge, in order to request a variance, what's my next step?
apply for a variance and have the other four, have all four here to vote on.
Any further questions I can assist the rest of you with?
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, and Mike, one, if you want to look it up yourself, the way to apply for this is section 1936.
Please, Jordan.
Jordan Whitener. And my question on the whole process is, I guess, just for an understanding as a community member, how does that work for the variance with the four beings that one is council and then the other, an adjacent landowner, is the mayor?
That's just the way the statutes for your code is written. So it's written that you need 4 approvals.
So he can approve.
He
So when
can't
I,
vote on his own, no.
so, but he can't approve, then Joel wouldn't be able.
It's up, yeah.
I'm just trying to understand it as a potential mayor candidate
Right,
as well.
Right, you're talking, so as, yeah, the mayor would be voting on it, yes.
Even though he's an adjacent landowner and it's,
So you're gonna have 1 or 2, what you're asking for is a complete stalemate where no one should be able to vote. Is that your other, that, I'm asking. is that
no,
your
that's not my
option?
other option. I
The
just,
only option is to follow what's in the code.
I'm just saying an adjacent landowner. I just am trying to
Right.
understand the process because I see that he can't vote.
I understand what you're trying, you're not,
It seems like it would, if I
Right.
understand, it seems like it would come down to 3 council members as far as,
That's,
I understand what you're getting.
because I
at,
stand for
but the-
financial gain and he stands for financial gain.
Right, but the fact is the person, if you're either, I have to go pull up the statute, but if you're the one proposing something, or you were a council member and you have a financial gain in it, as in it's your contract and you're proposing it, you cannot vote on it.
I get that, but it's also a financial gain for the
But He's
adjacent.
not the
landowner.
one who's actually proposing and creating the contract.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's all I was just trying to figure out is if it eliminates both of them on the vote or just one. That's all I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out. I wasn't, as a potential mayor candidate, I'm just trying to understand it too. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying,
understand where you're coming from.
I'm not saying that you can't vote on it. That's not what I was trying to imply. I was trying to see if that eliminated the two of them from the vote process.
If you're the one that's coming in with the contract.
Well, I understood that part, but I wasn't sure how that worked with an adjacent landowner that is also a piece of the governing body.
Right.
Where there could be some potential gain or not potential gains. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay.
So thank you.
Any further questions?
My name is Bob Streeter. If this should happen to fly through, I will be the project manager on this. And as you all well know, anything that I do, it turns out very, very nice, and it will increase the property values around you.
Any other comment?
I think his improvement on his yard is probably the best this town's seen all year.
It is.
Yeah, why don't you have one of those signs?
Oh, they don't like me.
I asked them to.
Well, I tell you what. It looks pretty damn good.
Sure.
That's the way this house will look also.
Move on to new business, Councilman residency.
Do you have anything to add, Mike?
What would you like to know?
You mean,
I maintain that I have a voting address at 415 West Maple Street in town. I maintain that I have several homes in town. I maintain that I built a vacation home that was toward the other side of town. I've currently been residing there with my family at this time. I'm geared up to maybe build myself another home right next to you, Mr. Mayor, and we'll be best of buds.
that would be good.
If that's what I need to do, it might just be a little stick-built 400 square foot shanty, but it'll meet code. That aside, I feel like my position on the council is an asset. I feel like we as a group have had conflict in the beginning, and that has changed, and we are moving in a very good direction. I would rather the approach be to figure out what needs to be done so I can maintain my position here. If that means that I need to go sleep at one of my other homes that I currently have, then so be it. But I feel like it is okay to have that, to be transparent, and I would ask for the council's support behind that. Like I said, I've maintained my business here. I've maintained my addresses here. And like I said, if my wife wants to live outside of town full-time, she's welcome to. If I need to be in here 3 nights a week to maintain what I feel is a positive influence for the town, then I can do that. And I would like to further back that up, that I've chosen to stay here in Shoshoni because I appreciate the town. And I appreciate being on the fire department. And several years ago, we bought a home between Riverton and Shoshoni so we could better maintain both of our businesses in Riverton and Shoshoni. And we gave that home up to stay here. So I never thought it would be possible, but I have chosen to make this town my home. And I appreciate the opportunity of being on council. So I'm repeating myself. If I need to sleep in one of my other homes, 200 feet on the other side of the fence, then I'm willing to do that.
Marshall, what state statute on that?
Well, the statute is that you have to reside within jurisdiction. So and I'm going to give you the definition of residence, but it's not a statutory one because they don't define residence for this. So the first part is there can only be one residence at a time. Okay. And the other part to this is that it's wherever you intend to indefinitely or permanently live in your home. Or where you've adopted your home. It can't be temporary. And there's ongoing physical presence there. And the other caveat is it cannot be occasional overnight visits or stays to establish residency. That's essentially what has been upheld by the Supreme Court time and time again.
I got a blunt question. We all know how rumors start around this town, or they always fly. If you maintain being on the council, it was all found out, you guys figured out a legal way, whatever else. What are your intentions on your future? Do you plan on finishing your term?
And that comes up with this, I would like to finish my term, but I want harmony with the council. Council feels like I'm pick your adjective. If I'm not an asset, if I am an asset, if there's a way to make it work, then that's what I would like to do. Because I feel like my next 2 years. I've had my greenie busting these past 2 years, and I feel like there's stuff going on that I would like to be a part of. I've strived very diligently to keep my business out of it. As far as tonight's not a good example of the podium many times coincidentally. I know I can do a lot for this town as a businessman, and I've proven that. But I also feel like I can do a lot for the town as a councilman, and I'm striving to prove that by helping other people get to where they want to get to. So in answering your question, yes, I would like to finish out my term.
No, that was pretty much where I was at. I was just seeing what your thoughts were, if you were thinking, oh, I'll do another year, bounce off, type of thing. I have no idea.
I would like to finish what I started. At the time when I got on council, we didn't know what we were going to do entirely, and here we are. Here we are now, several years later. Like I said, if where I was now was 18 months ago, I would have just said, see you later, we're good to move on. But like I said, I think in answering what Marshall has read from there, so my legal residence in Shoshoni for the past 7, nearly 8 years has been 415 West 3rd Street. That's what I built it. It took that vacant lots and turned it into what it has become, and then it's been enhanced by my caretaker.
But if I'm correct, as soon as Mike moved out to his new home, he's no longer a resident of town of Shoshone. There's no grace period.
Are you
Anything
sure?
that-
In the statute, as far as it goes, the only time there's a grace period is if the jurisdictional boundary is moved and the resident stays the same.
So how do you define moved?
The jurisdictional boundary?
You know, as far as if he's saying Mike's moved out, if you drive down there, you still see I have vehicles.
Well,
There, I
I-
still have a home there.
I'm not the one who makes this decision, Mike. I'm just giving you the definitions, okay? Again, so same thing, it's one, you can only have one residence at a time, okay?
Chris, what did your investigation show?
Well, I mean, I think Mike stated it himself that, you know, he is currently living out there, but recently. I don't know how much more to say than that.
But like I said, if it's for the sake of appeasing the council, I can certainly head right back in. It's not like property's still in my name and it's still there and the cars are still there and they're still meat in the freezer. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's not trying to sugarcoat anything. It's trying to make it, what can we do to make it work? If you're just opposed to it, then I think that's the better position to take. So we're opposed to it. If we're not, then
All I'm trying to do is follow state
Well,
statute. The simple way was prior, before you moved there, would have applied for annexation or something, you know, I mean, but that never happened. That would prevented any.
well, sometimes you just all have to overlook things that happens apparently around here. So
We're trying to follow state statute.
well, pick and choose which ones you follow then. I don't want to turn this into an argument, but you got me a little bent out of shape on what you will approve and what you won't approve when it comes to statutes. So I guess for simplicity, we ought to understand, if I go home to 415 West Maple Street tonight, does anybody have a problem with that? That is my legal address currently. I've not transferred my legal address outside of town limits.
But you've been living outside at town.
I've been on
limits for
vacation.
Quite some time.
Been on vacation. I'm sorry if you don't like my vacation style, but I've maintained that from the beginning. This is my vacation home. If I need to transfer my single wide camp trailer to my property, at the edge of town, I can certainly do that as well. So Bob doesn't have to have me in his spare bedroom either. And if Chris needs to come and check down there to see if that's, at the end of the day, I'm asking, what does it take to appease if it's possible?
I honestly don't know how that works, to tell you the truth, with it being state. I don't know. I don't know what the legally.
Well, I just gave you what's been upheld by the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, there is a residency requirement for the state county, but they don't break it down into, when you get down into the county municipal jurisdictions, they say it has to be residents. So here's the rules of residence. Again, you can only have one at a time. Okay. You have to have the genuine intention of being there, i.e. you purchased or built a new home, or you've adopted a new one. It's not temporary. And it has ongoing physical presence. An occasional visit or staying at another place, i.e. a hotel or guest home or whatever, does not establish residency. So here's the thing you guys are gonna have to determine. I mean, do you buy a new home with and buy or build this new home with the intention of making it his permanent one? And does he have an ongoing, and his family have an ongoing physical presence? That's what you have to determine. It's not a whether you're voting him off or not. The statute stated you have to have an investigation and rule whether or not that the residency is.
I don't see where we have a choice. We had choices. Could have been things earlier done, but where we're at now, as soon as.
I mean, so it was brought up 2 weeks ago. That was the first step, that there was this possibility. So after 14 days, the council has to determine, which would be tonight, whether or not his residency is outside of the jurisdiction.
Bob, would you like to input?
Ready to go up again?
Yes, please do. That way people can hear.
Bob Streeter again. I'm wondering if anybody in the state of Wyoming cares about this other than you.
I don't know, we just had a similar thing happen in Casper just a little over a month ago. We had two councilmen that moved out of their district. It's
Are
standard.
they going to come here?
No, but I mean.
Is anybody going to come here?
Just trying to. follow
If they
state-
come here, they
this
won't
is-
be housing for them.
This is a state statute. State statute.
Does
We're trying
anybody
to
care?
follow-
Is somebody going to come from Cheyenne, Joel? Get in their car and drive down here and check everybody's address? Or is this a personal thing for you,
This
Joel?
is not a personal thing for me. This was brought up by citizens in Shoshoni, brought it up to me when we addressed it when we did.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Come by and get your sign.
I will.
Like, where do you reside?
Any,
You know, I spend more hours per day in the city limits of Shoshoni than anywhere else. If you're going for time, the amount of nights I spend away from Shoshoni are limited. But if it's we're all dealing with a technicality. Like I said, I never transferred my address. No different than when I bought the home on Hutchinson Road. I didn't transfer my address and maintain so I could stay on the fire department here. So same thing with the property up there. There's nothing to say that it is even in my name for all that it matters. Perhaps it's in another entity and we're renting it. These are some questions people don't ask. But like I said, if I've been on vacation, need to be off my vacation and come back into town, then it seems like this conversation is for naught. There's nothing in the world that, just like this gentleman said earlier, him and his wife had a better relationship living in separate homes. Right? So unless someone wants to check me out every single night, see what color underpants I wear, then they'll just determine that I do what needs to be done to maintain this. So I will give you an example. Sunday night, I will be sleeping in Gillette. Monday night, I will probably be sleeping in Gillette as well. Sunday morning, Saturday night, I parked at 415 West 3rd Street. Monday night, I parked at 415 West 3rd Street.
When I worked in the oil and gas industry, one time I was working 33 days on, 11 days off. I spent 34 days away from home. I came home where my family was and spent 10 days with my family in my house. I maintained my residency because this was home. I just worked away. That's really doesn't count. You could always apply for annexation and get back on the council.
I mean, first of all, I just want to point out that the council here hasn't made.
Yeah, we haven't made a vote, yes.
So he doesn't have to do anything at this point.
Correct,
until
correct.
You guys vote.
If he
whether-
was.
If he's actually residing outside the jurisdiction. So you have to decide that.
So I have a cabin in Idaho as well. Does anybody want to talk about that? I mean, I've not applied for citizenship in Idaho. But I've got and I've got one in Utah as well. Like I said, if you want me off the council, then I think we should be going that route. If we're okay with me being on the council, then I feel like the decision is, well, you need to not reside at your vacation home as often. If you want to do that for the sake of being on the council, then if I have the support of the council, then great. Because each one of you could, if confronted by someone in this town that says, boy, he's such a screwball, whatever, you can say, this is the deal that we made and this is what we agreed to. If you don't agree to it, then we don't. But
I don't see it as that simple. I see it as following state statute. It's
But
not.
you know what,
whether we
Joe? I
want-
will park
whether we
my
want or
tent-
Whether we don't.
I'll park my tent next to you since we're now property owners and I'll change my residency to there. Will that appease you?
I think the proper thing is for someone to make a motion.
Yes.
And you guys vote on what you have decided. Whether you find that he is residing in or not, that's instead of sitting there bickering.
Agreed.
Do I get to vote on this?
Not this one, no.
How come?
Can I have a motion that declares Councilman Dimick not residing within the city limits and does not have residency?
I'll motion it for more discussion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that that Councilman Dimick does not live within the city limits, does not have residency within the town. Discussion.
I feel that is his name even on anything outside of this town? He still has his address on Maple. Mike is great on this council. And nobody can say he's not.
That's not the issue.
I just had to say that.
No, that's not the issue. And I've told Mike also he's done a good job. But he's not a resident or could appear, he may not be a resident of the town of Shoshone.
You're not for sure where he lives.
I believe it. Yes, please.
I have no dog in this fight. We live in Thermopolis. We're just here observing as we do all town council meetings in our district since I'm running for state legislature. I would like to just state that if you are a student and you go to school in another state, your residency does not change. If you are in the armed forces and you are sent overseas, your residency does not change. And I understand this is an extremely sticky situation for your town. And again, I have no dog in the fight, but we all live in small towns. It's hard to find people to serve. It's hard to find people who are willing to give up their time to serve. And if there is a way that this council could keep him and yet not run afoul of state statute, then perhaps that might be the best solution for this council. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to add on, that the only way to do that is for you all to vote whether he resides in here or not. That's the way it has to be done since it was brought up 2 weeks ago. It's not like something that you can just leave hanging out there.
Well, I think we've gotten along a lot better since we first started. There's no doubt. I think you've done a lot of good things. A concern of mine on this whole thing is with your vacation home and your homes here in town, a worry that I have. And like I said, I'm not saying I want you off this council. I'm not saying that at all. If I was going to say that, we've argued before, you know I'd say it. My concern is someone from Riverton buying a house here, changing their residency and having a vacation home in Riverton. You know, we have, a school board that's all over the place, which is fine. That's, I'd like to see more Shoshone people in it, but it is what it is. You got to find the people that want to volunteer. There's some good people that are from out of town. I'm not putting anybody down whatsoever. I'm glad they're involved because we do have some really good people on that school board. We have a heck of a school. This is just a touchy damn thing. It just is.
I agree with what Bo says, and this isn't a city ordinance. This is a state statute that we're trying to follow. And there was a pathway earlier on, because you've been building that house for multiple years to try to apply for annexation. I even brought it up several months ago to reach out to people in the area that may want to annex property, because I know this was coming down the pike. You could see it coming. And finally, I'm getting several public comments brought up to me, that you're living outside. What's up with that? And if we open this door, it can open the door for multiple people that may look at this, and it's state statute. And you in your heart, your home is where your family is.
I'm gonna
Can
stop
we
you right there.
table it?
You're gonna have to vote on whether you
Okay.
find whether or not he resides in or out.
Okay,
I mean,
any more comment, or we ready to vote?
well, I just want, I mean, it's up to the council to vote and that sells if he's in or out. So
Right.
it's up to, yeah. So,
What if they abstain?
yeah, and then I guess we'll have to wait for Mr. Cent to come back and bring it back up again.
All in favor?
You would be in favor, it'd be whether you're fine.
Okay. Do we find that Councilman Demick was outside the city limits and didn't have residency? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I just can't vote on this yet. I just can't do it yet.
Opposed?
Gonna have to table it until we get Cent back. Just gonna have the vote. So I will advise the council, if it's brought up, you're gonna have to be in compliance, you're gonna have to vote on it. Not vote on it, but make a finding
Mhm.
as a council.
So does that mean,
Kick it down the road a little. Vote on it.
so does that provide me with 2 weeks to better align myself for another investigation of my residency
Or annexation.
or annexation or proposal for annexation? I mean, so asking the two council members that appreciate not pushing this at the moment.
I'm not trying to push it. I'm just trying to follow state statute.
Okay, thank you. The two council members,
State statute said we bring it to a vote in 2 weeks. That's what I just did.
so
We're aware of that, Joel.
it would appease the other council members, and I can have this conversation with Councilman Zent. If it is better determined that I'm residing another 50 feet on the other side of the line, would that be better for, would Marshall approve of that? Would
I
Chris be able to, I mean, Ms. Farr, I guess you just read the word. I guess we can have this conversation afterward. Killed the vote, yes. So move on.
Yes, Jordan.
I guess the first thing I ask as a potential mayor candidate is, has the current council been a part of the investigation, or are you guys just getting rammed with it and trying to make a decision? So I think that I'm pretty certain that there's no findings from each of you on your own. So I would request that you guys do your due diligence to find that out. The other comment I'm going to make is, if his vacation home was without of the city limits, which I see is evident, why did we build the welcome to Shoshoni sign out of city limits?
The state statute has the signs of a municipality. You have to be able to see the town from the sign. And we followed that.
Can I get a copy of that, please? I'll pick it up tomorrow.
Well, I can answer that one. It has nothing to do with this conversation. The sign was put out there because the only other place to put it was literally coming uphill. Kind of pointless to put the sign there. That's why it's up.
There's a sign currently that's there that's not uphill.
That has nothing to do with, but it has
Right.
to do with
That,
But
it's
I
it's
curious,
legal
just curious,
placement.
just curious. Grab it down a hole, but just curious.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
A lot of my questions are legal ramifications on this. I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is all getting thrown at me, so
I can research that all you want for you, but I mean, ultimately, I'm just telling you the way I told you last week when we brought it up. But once it's brought up, you have to determine it after 2 weeks in the public hearing.
That's
Have the finding. So that was 2 weeks ago when it was brought up in public and the statute was read out loud.
And-
So I can research the ramifications for you if you'd like. I imagine that might, I don't know. I'd have to look that up for you.
We, Marshall, we did follow protocol on the investigation, corrective residency.
Yeah, you have to make a public finding and as a council determine whether or not, but you can't as a council, I mean, so.
But isn't it up to the town clerk and the, I mean, we just had a,
For voting and not for this, the
Okay.
town council is the one who votes and makes the finding whether or not he's residing outside of the jurisdiction.
but wasn't not proper to have a, just like the county
Yeah,
investigated.
yeah, if you investigates it and decides and gives you the information, you still have to make the finding.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The investigation was,
Yes.
yes.
At the same token, don't I have a say in it as far as I feel like it's just because, let me give you an example. I'm colorblind. So when I get in arguments with people over colors, I typically back down from the fight because I just go off on their judgment that I'm gonna not be right on that situation.
That you have every right to bring as much evidence as you believe.
So I,
You absolutely do have that right.
so and I think that's kind of what's coming up as far as, like I said, we're all here addressing the situation. I feel like if the goal is how do we make this work as presented from the audience, then what do we do to make that work? If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But by golly, if it freaking works and we've got good people, then I feel like that's what the town government has demonstrated. What does it take to get good people? We're bringing people out of Lander, making variances, making exceptions, doing whatever it takes to keep good people and get good people here.
Let's move on. If we're done with that. New business, candidate final debate.
Was asked to put up another final debate before the election, I believe November 1st, 6 o'clock for mayor and council. Same format as previous. And
We
both,
didn't do it before.
that's right. It was just the mayor's last time. wasn't it?
Yes,
So this time we councilman. So November 1st at 6 o'clock. That's when the mayors will start, so you'll be later if you need to.
any more conversation? C, new business expenditures.
So before you is the proposed increase in expenditures. I just want to clarify that this is not related to the previous increase in revenue. This is on existing revenues as originally passed. So I know when we first were talking about this, I believe there was a way that we could just go forth without making any adjustments to our salary budgets for personnel. However, I just don't see a way that I can continue, the next clerk, continue to utilize discretionary spending, which when I get into the overall budget quarterly report, makes up about 20% of our budget. Obviously, salaries make up 80%. So I can't use salaries for discretionary, but discretionary can be used for salaries underneath the cap that's set in the appropriations. Issues here without this increase, I fear that we're going to have some trouble with being able to purchase widgets, hammers, things of that nature. If we use it all to redirect it towards personnel with the increased cost of me leaving as clerk treasurer, as well as the increased cost of the payouts that were paid out for the former director and water employee, as well as currently using contract labor to fill the gaps as well. So without these increases, I'm not sure how else we can do it under our current appropriations. I did break it out into general administration, water and wastewater. Our currently approved appropriations, not including that budget resolution from earlier, was 11,586 in our general fund, so to speak. That general administration falls under. The proposed increase would leave us still with $4,690 in expected revenues versus expenditures. The water and wastewater are both their own enterprise funds, and those numbers are respected there as well. Obviously, there's a little bit less in the wastewater, so there wouldn't be a budgeted surplus at the end of the year. However, 2 budgets ago, I did implement a depreciation fund in both of these, which is encapsulated within this, so there's still that aspect. So that's what I would request, is to increase those line items by those amounts to ensure that we are able to not have to use our discretionary monies, which would be fuel, utilities, things of that nature, is all discretionary. And it makes up a very small portion of our budget compared to payroll. So that's what this is.
So you're looking for a motion to raise our budget?
Correct.
And have a motion to raise budget as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Councilman Weaver, second by Councilman Hartke, that we raise our budget as presented by the clerk treasurer. Any further discussion?
So by what amounts are you requesting to be?
It's the budget increase line. So the left line is our current budget as appropriated. The increase is what for each one of those line items. I didn't put the line item number, but that's the nomenclature of the line items. And then the revised budget would be become the new budget.
So is it, so under general administration, we're increasing the budget by approximately 7,000?
Yep.
And then on water, approximately 3,100.
And all in payroll, not in,
Mhm.
I can't go buy computers with it or anything like that. So, and hopefully some of it was not all be spent on personnel depending on things go, but that's
Understood.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Clerk, quarterly financial.
maybe I should have flopped this around. It would have made things make a lot more sense. So I sent you all the budget breakdown of the revenue. I'll just touch on it briefly. Obviously, the interest, as I said, this is through September, not including October, obviously, but like I said, we were at 62% of the budgeted revenue from interest income, which that was what prompted that resolution. Overall, our revenues versus what was budgeted for this point in the quarter, we have exceeded by $21,000. Some are a little bit below. It just depends on like property tax. They don't come even disbursements throughout the year. So, but overall, we were $21,000 greater revenue than what was budgeted, or 27.46%. If this pace continued throughout the year, we would end the year approximately $90,000 over budget in revenue, which I think is good, but this is one quarter, and it's not going to always be the same. So That's why I'm not requesting to increase every budget item, because the outlier was interest. Also, you can see the our checking account did grow by 69,000, as well as our Wildstar account, which holds our savings, so to speak. And we do have 84,000 still out in, 93,000 out in reimbursements that are still pending. As far as our expenditures go, currently our combined payroll, which does not include the enterprise, is 21%. And our discretionary is 18% expended through Q1. So we're below budget for the first quarter. However, there's some issues coming up with, as I said, the discretionary, and you can see how small the discretionary is compared to payroll. And this is about to change come November 1st, when you add entirely new personnel as I transition out. That salary for the clerk treasurer is almost going to double. So that is why that previous expenditure was necessary. And you can just see the expenditures on discretionary, how quickly that could be absorbed just by payroll, and what that would leave individual departments to be able to function throughout the year. And I felt having a new clerk treasurer kind of a bad position to put them in from day one. So that was what that was about. Every department so far, aside from the library, is under budget on payroll and discretionary spending. Our enterprise funds, which I think are the more important ones to look at, is our water income. Currently is at 30% instead of 25. So we're actually exceeding revenue expectations on our water fund. However, our payroll is already maxed out at 25, and that does not count the one person that's not even being paid right now. That's because of the payouts. So that's why that's important to look at. And our wastewater, it's a little under, but we do have some outstanding payments that are due. So that should be about 25% when we do receive those. But again, the payroll is maxed out at 25%, which would be great if we didn't have those issues that I know are coming up. So this is more trying to be on the front end of it. And as you can see, the total expenditures is below 25%, which would be payroll and discretionary. And then there's the Wildstar count that I included for you to look at, how that has changed from ending to now. I don't want to bore you with it, but as I said at the beginning, it's up $63,000 from year end till now. So, any questions? That's all published on the website if you want to take a more in-depth look at it. I believe you all got copies of it too. So. That's all I had.
Any questions for Chris? None being, can I have a motion to go into executive session for real estate?
Make the motion.
Been moved by Councilman Harkey. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Weaver. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, the same. Pass note that Councilman Dimick sustained from that motion.
8:40.
8:40 on executive session. Can I have a motion to bring us back into regular session?
Good motion.
Second.
Been moved by Councilwoman Markey, second by Councilman Weaver, that we go back into regular session. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Back in regular session, 9:23. Can I have a motion to move forward for the economic development, the sale of the property on the corner of Fifth and Idaho?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Councilman Weaver, second by Councilman Harkey. Sell the property on, that we have for sale on the 6 lots on Fifth and Idaho. Any further discussion? None being. All in favor, say aye.
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 Stay.
Opposed. Opposed the same. All confirmed, no. The Councilman Demick abstained from the vote. You have anything, Tammy, to add? Like to talk about?
No, not today.
Bo, do you have anything? You would like to bring up?
No, I think I'm good.
Mike, do you have anything you'd like to bring up?
The roads department did well with their motor graders so far.
That's
I've
good.
noticed some improvements throughout the town. They've been practicing. I'm not here to,
Yeah, he went on.
he went home. He was here early before he
Yeah.
left, but that's been nice to see.
Yeah, we have a contract employee that's helping train them. Putting that new blade to work.
The trailer situation over on,
Fifth and
Yeah,
Main.
we were gonna bring that up, but
okay, I'm done. I think that's all I have.
You want to talk about that?
sure. So let's see, it was Thursday or Friday evening on patrol, noticed a trailer on Main Street that was parked off the right of way, sitting there on a trailer attached to the truck. At the time, nobody was around, nobody made a deal of it because it wasn't placed. Well, this weekend, they went ahead and placed it. On Friday, they called and spoke with Kathy requesting what process needs to take place. What we didn't get was a name, a phone number. Kathy advised them to come pick up a application, a building permit for trailer, which they did. However, they never turned it back in. And they were also told they would have to come to the meeting and go through the process to get approval. So they went ahead and placed it without doing any of that, and then but then there was an emergency that existed and they had to go to Casper with the husband who's now in the hospital. So that's where that whole thing is. I don't know a name. I don't
I
know.
can get you a name because I was called on this because the guy that moved them, she told him that the city council put it down that they weren't allowed to move it, so she's not gonna pay him. So he called me at the store today and wanted to know if we really had said that. So he knows who the people are that owe him,
That we're not gonna pay.
that we weren't. We didn't want the trailer there. We were against him, so she wasn't gonna pay him for moving the trailer.
Oh.
How old's the trailer?
It's 19,
It doesn't look that bad. I mean,
I don't know.
it could be better, but
It's gotta be there's an ordinance that says they have to be inspected like the electrical at the pre-some year.
75.
It's gotta be pre-set.
It's zoned R2.
Doesn't matter if you move the trailer in. You
Right.
still have to inspect it. I know that because I moved the trailer.
Sure. But it's zoned R2. You can't move a trailer in on R2.
That's even-
That's what sparked the whole conversation when I saw it there. And then it was placed there. So from my perspective, they didn't come get a building permit. And then
There's,
by looking at the zoning, it's in the R2, which is essentially R1 light. Or you can have a trailer, but if you move it and you don't put anyone in there, then you can't.
Does that mean it gets to stay since it moved here?
No.
I don't mean it.
No, no, it's,
let me read this.
I like this strategy. Middle of the night on a Friday,
that's,
drop off home sweet home.
sometimes you just can't make this stuff up.
Oh. Did you say where it came from?
I can find out.
So I couldn't say, so my grapevine was, they didn't have to have a permit because they moved it in town. It was already in town. I thought, I don't know where I've ever seen it. I didn't,
Is that what
Oh,
they
so-
said? Is that what you heard?
that's what I was, I said, I heard I couldn't go on record and say who said it, but that was the same thing. It was, well, they just took it from point A in town, moved it to point B, so
Here's the actual rule for R2 regarding removing a mobile or manufactured home. Detached single-family dwelling in R2 may consist of a mobile home with conventional roofing, siding, and skirting, provided however, when such mobile home is removed from a lot within this district and said lot remains vacant for a period of 6 months, the said use shall be deemed abandoned and may only be replaced by permanent structure. So if it's removed and they replace it with mobile home within
But
6
didn't they
months.
have a motor home in there? There was a motor home in there.
A motor home is not a mobile home, though.
But
so
they
that
lived
wouldn't
in it.
qualify.
No, don't make it hits.
That wouldn't give them that leniency to do so.
It was a tiny house.
welcome to discrepancies. It gets you every once in a while. So can they store it there?
Believe we would have ramification for what we can do.
I mean, if they came back and said it's a travel trailer, but even a travel trailer could be 2 weeks or something.
But it sounds like if they're not gonna pay the guy that brought it here, they're not gonna pay him to come pick it back up. And so then it becomes abandoned property at that point, and will it take,
Is it the property? I guess we're just asking to nobody, the property owners.
Don't have any
I
idea.
have no idea.
'Cause
So they didn't talk to me. They talked to Kathy over the phone, but they were really shady about giving a name. And so she advised them to get the building permit and then told them they needed to come to council to get approval. They neglected to do so, and I guess the guy placed it.
Like I say, the home next to that lot, I'd purchased, I sold it. The current owner of it is the kids that live next to
Yeah.
it, they bought it. So they can control the neighbor. So it's what that home that's there right now. We cleaned up part of that lot. I don't know, I never figured out or never looked who owns that corner lot to see if it's. Because you would, if they don't own the lot, they would have to have a letter from the landowner saying this is okay as well. Yeah. And just ruining their Halloween, Chris.
That's what I do. Scare people.
Scare people right out of this tent. Your Chuck E. Cheese mask over there. So now what? You have to
I'll deal with Marshall and we'll see how this takes place, and I mean, and it just depends what they do, what they say. But it can't stay there. That much is clear.
Actually, we're still on round table, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Can I still say something?
Please do.
What's the latest on Phillies and Cream?
So I'll be having a conversation with them here in about 3 days.
They were trying to rent it out to campers and everything else.
oh,
They're living in a
Okay.
camper in the back, which you know,
So they presented at a meeting that you missed. Correct.
yeah. They were gonna stay there while they fixed up the inside.
Yeah, no, I was here on that one. I'm wondering, because they had advertisement for hunters to place their campers there.
Oh,
I didn't know nothing about.
Yeah.
And they could use the inside to cook.
Yeah, it was all over Facebook.
That's a little different.
That's why I'm asking what do we got going on here?
boy, you know what? It's quite the twist from our conversation, but they talked about it. I mean, in a way, when you said, we want to have this as a kitchen where people can
Experiment.
experiment,
and try
Dexter
things out.
style and cleaned it. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
That one kind of threw me for a loop. That's why I was
But the
like,
motorhome that just shot, I don't know who.
yeah,
I'm not sure
I
who's
saw
staying in
that, but that was my
I thought- I
concern was the
wondered if that-
Facebook post.
Was that motorhome? I thought the motorhome was right over here behind Glen Moore's old place. I don't know that. It just kind of looked familiar because I just got there a couple days ago. As far as I knew, Annie, and I don't know if Armando, if he's lives there, he works in Thermop. That's what she said. So sometimes the Suburban is there and sometimes it's not. But she seems to be there most every day. All we did was issue him a
Business
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 license.
license, yeah.
I believe they're living in that motorhome while they're working on the inside.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I was just, like I said, I was just curious on offering camping and stuff there because I didn't remember any of that discussion.
It wasn't on the building permit.
Well,
Or on the-
most I see is about being able to store your RVs there as well. Is that the same motion?
No, they were welcoming hunters.
What I see was they were advertising that you could essentially, store your RVs. I didn't see the.
Well, currently, I don't think anybody's there utilizing that service yet. that I've seen.
That's all I said.
I talked to, I guess, the motel status, whether it's relevant or not. I talked to Peralito. He works with the mushroom farm. He is currently doing the renovation on it. So the owners are in Florida. There were some people there previously that were renovating, and he told me those owners were in New York. I don't know if it sold again in this process. I have no idea. He's doing a very good job. What they're hoping to do is he's been starting with the first floor. They pulled out the carpet and junk and put a new tile and made them much more accommodating. He was hoping to get the first 8 done so they could open up again as a motel and then renovate the kitchenettes and then work his way around. But he
Good
still
plan.
works at the farm and he's doing this as well, and he's never met the owners. They saw some videos from Florida of their investment. And I guess it's on that, the shanty behind the apartments is currently being removed as well. Apparently they were able to, and I don't know who they is, if it's the Shoshoni Suites owner, who said they bought that property. And they were cleaning it up at the moment.
Oh, it did get removed, huh?
The building,
Yeah.
they're still working on it. They're in a long, slow pace of how they're doing. it. They would like to, their hope is to be able to get that building gone and then do some development on that. So Humphreys owned the property previously. What I can tell you is we backed out of buying it several years ago because they had a weird deed, and the deed was if somebody else from the Never Never World shows up and says, I own this property, you will lose it. It was an awfully weird, one of those things that, because they couldn't trace the deed. It was just a weird, anyway, at the time, the realtor said, you can buy it, and the price was set and no problem. But if an inherit or a descendant were to show up and say, I want this, then you're obligated to vacate take whatever you want, but
So they own that property going towards Shoshoni too, all the way behind that yellow house, correct? Isn't that all part of it?
Yes.
I heard where it steps up and there's like a little hill deal there. I heard that's just buried with all kinds of crap.
but it was the old airplane hangar. Yeah.
I heard that it's,
So they've removed to this point, so they're putting in dumpsters. Why I say this. So There was a lot of old appliances they pulled out, and it was jam-packed with wood flooring. Some of the stuff they think they want to salvage, and other stuff they're throwing out. But there was old mattresses, old bed frames, old appliances, but it was filled. But it's working in the right, I mean, their goal is to tear down the entire structure, not trying to salvage and make a garage or anything, just remove it, so it'll clean up the
Good deal.
town, that area. The concrete at the mushroom farm, since we're talking about projects that are going, or not the mushroom farm, Viper Underground has almost completed the crushing down at the arena. So that massive pile that just never ended, he's gone around, and they have done quite the cleanup on all the rubble that was there. They're supposed to be done probably this week on that, but it's all been recycled for that area. Don't know if we'll encourage more dumping down there in the future or not. That would be.
Mhm.
something
Looks a lot
else.
better though.
It does look, it's gone a long way.
I want to talk about the grants, ARPA grants. We remember we applied for 3 of them. On our water system. That there's 113 applications. They had $50 million to pass out. The top 5 grants. Top 5 grants received 28.54 million of the 50. The next 5 received 13.748 million of the 50. So the top 10 got 42 million of the 50 million. This, they haven't got it yet. Let me correct that. It was recommended by the review board.
Is this the meeting that's supposed to happen on the 27th?
Yeah.
Yes. That's so this is the recommendation. They will vote on this on Thursday.
Yes. I intend to be there. Chris may be here on Zoom, and we're gonna pitch our sales pitch on trying to the SLIB, which is the 5 top state elective officers. They actually vote on it and pass out the grants. So we're gonna go down there. The 3 we had was the SCADA system was about $280,000. We had well house and wells, $1.13 million improvement on that. And the other was water storage tank improvement road was about $580,000 was what Lander applied for, I think, near 50 million of themselves. They had 10 applications, but they never received any. Most of the top were all from larger cities. We had $7.5 million for Green River, and other 7 million for Gillette, 6.25 million for North Sweetwater Sewer District. City of Sheridan got 3.8 million. City of Torrington got 3.5 million. But I've been in contact with WAM, and we feel there's a chance that the SLIB may break off some of the funding on some of the bigger ones, that may let some of the funds trickle down to the smaller communities. So that's what I'm going to go down there, and we're going to do our best the sales pitch to try to. The SCADA system, for one, is hard to receive funding for elsewhere. So that's the smallest one, but that would be very beneficial to us. That would include, that's the computer stuff, would like have the warning, so we don't drain our tanks. You know, what we were talking about, if purchasing just that one system was $12,000 just for a monitor for the tanks. But that it would modernize all of that. And it's harder to receive funding for that for whatever reason than it is for the other. So, you know, the only, issue with that is if we, of course, if we get that award, we have 6 years to spend it. And that would, we're working on our level 3 to get those, to get that new put in. We probably do our well houses and everything first and put the SCADA system in, so you're not putting it in and then moving it. But that's sort of, that's going to be our approach. Like I said, I called Dave up, our director of WAM, and he definitely says we should be pursuing this and go down there. And it's much better person to person. And at least I do. I have a good working relationship with them down there. So that's going to be our plan. But there was a lot of applicants, and we thought we'd be very lucky to get one. So we didn't quite get one, but we're still going to continue it. Any other thoughts?
Sounds like a good idea. Get it done.
I don't have anything else. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Have a second. Second. Been moved by Councilwoman Harkey, seconded by Councilman Weaver, that we adjourn. Any further discussion on being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All the same. Meeting adjourned, 9:45.